is stepping up its border security, but it claims it's not because of this.
Mexico shouldn't allow millions of people to try and enter our country, and they could stop it, and if they won't, we're going to put tariffs on.
So we've come to Tapachula on the border with Guatemala. It's here where migrants first step foot into Mexico.
The goal for most of them? To reach the U.S. border.
No queremos quedarnos aquí.
But can Mexico stop them? And could they be doing more? These are some of the migrants hoping to reach the U.S. through Mexico.
Mexico has become a country of transit for many people who are in unsafe places in Central America.
Demetrio Martinez knows that best. He's the police chief here in this border town.
We have a constant flow of migrants coming through here. As the security department, we guarantee they are safe while they're here.
But that task can be overwhelming, especially when large groups arrive at once. Just some months ago, this was the scene here at the same border crossing.
The first time 20,000 migrants came here, we did not have the available resources to help them.
Experts say migrants started traveling in large groups or caravans in the last couple of years when violence in Mexico made it dangerous for them to travel alone. We linked to our video about the caravans in the comments below.
Mexico should step up and stop this onslaught, this invasion into our country.
President Donald Trump accuses Mexico of being an unmanned gateway for these migrants and not doing anything to stop them. He's especially upset because large groups of migrants are arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border, where detentions are at a 7-year high. The Mexican president says they're doing everything they can.
Y estamos actuando con responsabilidad.
Trump claimed in April that Mexico has only just started apprehending migrants at its southern border. But the statistics on deportations tell a different story. We know that in recent years, the U.S. has been sending migrants back to Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador by the tens of thousands each year, peaking in 2014 when 121,000 migrants were kicked out. And what about Mexico? Their spike in deportations came a year later, and over the same period, Mexico has actually deported even more Central Americans. More than 800,000 people total.
And it's part of this larger deterrence strategy that is being implemented in Mexico.
That number has only kept growing, especially in the months since Andrés Manuel López Obrador took office.
Sí estamos cumpliendo con nuestra responsabilidad en política migratoria.
And outside border cities, the military and federal police have started manning secondary border checkpoints similar to the ones that there are in the United States.
When the Trump administration accuses Mexico of doing nothing, Mexico points to these efforts. But immigration agencies are overwhelmed and stretched thin. Their budgets were also recently cut.
Mexican government, I feel, has been doing everything it can in the circumstances, and what we need is American cooperation, not unilateral threats.
It's important to note two things. Trump hasn't been the only U.S. president asking for tighter security at Mexico's southern border. And second, Mexico is no longer just a stepping stone on a migrant's journey north, and they're offering alternatives that are reducing the flow of migrants to the U.S.
It's becoming a destination. A country, a host country like the U.S. has been.
This is the office where migrants come seeking refugee status here in Mexico.
According to government data, the number of refugee applications filed in Mexico have grown exponentially, from about 1,300 in 2013 to more than 17,000 in 2018.
Pues México me ha recibido bien, he tenido trabajo.
And most recently, the government started issuing a limited number of one-year humanitarian visas. Some migrants have taken up the offer so that they have legal status while they make their way north to the U.S. border.
So on the one hand, you have humanitarian efforts inside of Mexico, the humanitarian visa, let's say, being a good illustration of that. But at the same time, you have increased deterrence mechanisms?
It is a difficult task. That's what we're working at, because you have to balance.
And unlike the United States' recent decision to cut funding to Central American countries, Mexico says they're dedicating more efforts to helping them.
It is a matter of taking people out of poverty, out of insecurity, providing people with well-paid jobs. That is the solution in our view.
And they could stop it very quickly, and I think they will.
President Trump is cranking up the pressure on Mexico. He's returned migrants to wait in Mexico while the U.S. processes their asylum cases. He's threatened to close the U.S.-Mexico border, and now he's warning about rising tariffs.
There's different ways of managing your neighbors. He's actually telling Mexico what to do. And I don't think that's going to sit well with Mexico or many other countries around the world, frankly.
That's all for this week from the Mexico-Guatemala border. But this story is far from over. Like our BBC News Facebook page for updates. We'll see you next week.